Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we assemble the best and most interesting news from the area, and Jerry Tope brings you the local weather and related news. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We're glad you tuned in to watch DCTV. Today's show is live on Tuesday at noon, rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m., and again re-aired on Friday at noon, 3 and 6.
Coming up, road closure landslide, buckle up seatbelt alert, Durango fire update, and more.
And also Hep C epidemic, Cortez sign battle, methane ruling with the weather, the sheriff's report, and area happenings. Today is May 23rd, 2017, and now the News at Noon. Reported in the Cortez Journal, Taylor Creek Road, Forest Road 545, is closed by landslides about 3.5 miles from its intersection with Colorado Highway 145, according to a news release from the U.S. Forest Service. The road is expected to be closed until at least June 2nd. The road has failed in multiple locations because of the wet winter and failing drainage structures. Repairs will begin as soon as possible, the Forest Service said. And in other news from CDOT, statewide last year, 60 lives could have been saved if everyone buckled up in Colorado. To ensure Coloradans are using seatbelts, CDOT, the Colorado State Patrol, CSP, and statewide law enforcement agencies will conduct the May mobilization click it or ticket enforcement period from May 22nd to June 4th. Basically, this covers the busy Memorial Weekend driving traffic to draw the most attention to this issue. Last year's May mobilization effort resulted in 5,983 seatbelt citations, including 295 citations for unrestrained or improperly restrained children under 15. CDOT transformed seatbelts into awareness ribbons for its ad campaign to accompany the enforcement period. The ribbons will be placed over photos of several severely wrecked vehicles from real Colorado crashes where the drivers and passengers survived because they were wearing their seatbelts. One of those images is posted on DCTV's News at Noon Facebook page. Fines for not buckling up start at $65, and parents or caregivers caught with an improperly restrained child can receive a minimum fine of $82. In 2015, seatbelts saved an estimated 13,941 lives nationwide, including 200 in Colorado. Last year, 180 unbuckled drivers and passengers were killed in Colorado, accounting for nearly half of all passenger vehicle traffic crashes.
According to the Cortez Journal, the heroin epidemic is driving up hepatitis C infections, with the biggest increase in people in their 20s, U.S. health officials said this week. The number of new infections nearly tripled in 5 years to about 2,400 in 2015. The virus is spread by sharing needles to inject drugs, and the increase coincided with a surge in heroin use. But officials at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention think the reported infections are only a fraction of the actual number. Most people don't get sick for many years, so they aren't tested and don't know they are infected. The CDC estimates that the number of infections in 2015 was 34,000, or twice as many as the estimate for 2010. The biggest jump in new infections is in people ages 20 to 29, the CDC said. The hepatitis C virus spreads through the blood, but does most of its damage by infecting the liver. It can lead to cirrhosis or liver cancer. In recent years, new hepatitis C drugs hit the market that can cure the infection in only a few months. But they are expensive. A course of treatment can cost tens of thousands of dollars. The CDC also released national hepatitis C death figures, nearly 20,000 deaths in 2015. The number hasn't changed much recently, but that figure reflects a different group of infected people, baby boomers. The apparent leveling off may be due to a push to test all baby boomers for the virus and the treatment improvements, said the CDC's Dr. Jonathan Mermin. Of the 3.5 million Americans living with hepatitis, most were born between 1945 and 1965 and were infected decades ago, according to the CDC.
From the Cortez Journal, a Region 9 analyst focused on an upside of the county's distressed economy during a recent report to the Cortez City Council. Tax help is available. Laura Lewis Marchino, Executive Director of Region 9 Economic Development District, presented the report to the City Council and the Montezuma Community Economic Development Association on May 9th. She highlighted the district's accomplishments in the past 2 years, such as joining the Rural Jumpstart program and bringing 15 new businesses to the area. The District 9 report itself, which includes data gathered through 2015, showed that Montezuma County had the highest unemployment rate and the lowest per capita income in the district, which consists of Archuleta, Dolores, La Plata, Montezuma, and San Juan counties. In 2015, according to the report, the Montezuma County unemployment rate was 5.6%, higher than both the state and national averages. Dolores, interestingly, had the lowest unemployment rate at 3.1%. The average per capita income in Montezuma County was $38,393, about 86% of the national average. La Plata County had the highest average income at $51,475, more than 100% of the national average. Montezuma County again was listed as an enterprise zone this year, which means that it's a distressed area by Region 9 standards and is eligible for tax incentives for new businesses. Marchino said that she also expects the county's recent entry into Rural Jumpstart to bring in more employers. The Cortez Council will hold further discussion on the Rural Jumpstart program during its public workshop on Tuesday. According to Marchino, Montezuma County's economy barely qualified for enterprise zone assistance this year. Some areas within the county, such as Mancos, didn't. She also highlighted some Region 9 accomplishments, such as bringing about 15 startup businesses to the area as part of its Southwest Colorado Accelerator Program for Entrepreneurs, which she said created about 50 jobs. The Region 9 report relied on data from the Colorado State Demography Office, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, and the Bureau of Economic Analysis, among other sources. In addition to information about each county's employment and income, it also listed population statistics and the top employers.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, the City of Cortez is asking area business owners to get permits if they want to keep their more colorful outdoor signs. Planning and Building Director Sam Proffer sent out a letter to several Cortez businesses on May 11th, asking them to get permits for less conventional signs, such as banners and sidewalk-mounted signs. The letter particularly emphasizes that vertical feather-style banners require a permit. City Planner Tracy Hughes said her department wants to avoid any potential hazard of having a sign mounted on a sidewalk, as well as any aesthetic problems caused by poorly maintained signs. It's something that we've known has been getting kind of out of control, so it just seemed like the time to do something about it, she said. Businesses in Cortez, especially on Main Street, have been putting up more sidewalk signs and fabric banners in recent months, she said, and most have not applied for permits as required by the current land use code. The code doesn't specifically prohibit such signs, but Section 5.06.f says that ground signs shall not protrude over any public right-of-way, which could be interpreted to include sidewalk-mounted signs, Hughes said. The code also requires businesses to have a permit for any sign that doesn't fit certain size and location criteria. Permits usually come with a fee of $40, which can go up depending on the sign's size. Hughes said there are several gaps in the current land use code regarding unusual signage. For example, it says nothing about the sidewalk chalkboards that are becoming more popular with some businesses. The next update to the code, which is still several months away from completion, will include more specific rules about different kinds of signs, she said. Hughes said the recent letter was a friendly reminder to businesses that haven't applied for sign permits, and that she doesn't expect the city to level fines or any other penalties for non-permitted signs in the near future. But she did say the city might consider penalizing people who don't respond within the next few months.
Updated from the Durango Herald on the fire in downtown Durango Sunday. 2 agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives were expected to be on scene in Durango Monday afternoon to assist with the investigation of the fire at a vacant building on Camino del Rio we reported on yesterday. Durango police and fire officials believe the fire was likely not accidental because all power and utilities to the building had been turned off in anticipation of its demolition in early June, according to Deputy Chief Randy Black of the Durango Fire Protection District. The ATF has the equipment and a laboratory that can determine if an accelerant was used at the site. The fire at 1111 Camino del Rio was reported just before midnight Sunday, and firefighters arrived less than 2 minutes later to find much of the structure ablaze. Black said it would be unusual for a fire in that location to have been burning long without being noticed because of its proximity to the highway, river trail, and downtown. One southbound lane of Camino del Rio from 9th Street to 12th Street remained closed Monday afternoon as the fire continued to smolder and firefighters attacked hotspots. Black said he expects the highway to fully reopen today, Tuesday. Fire Marshal Carola Hanks said Monday that there is no evidence that anyone was in the building during the fire. The last of about a dozen businesses in the building just south of Natural Grocers vacated in mid-May. The building was sold on March 31st, and the new owners plan to demolish it and build an 86-room hotel. The brand of the hotel has not been announced. Black said no one could benefit from the blaze, and he expects the investigation could slow the developer's plans to begin construction. Black said a small storage shed toward the back of the same property at 1111 Camino del Rio was set on fire last week, causing damage to the interior of the structure. He was unaware if there were any suspects in that fire. Black said vagrants had been using the area as a hangout in recent weeks, possibly living in the recently abandoned structure. Police and fire investigators were following leads on the fire and conducting interviews on Monday. Because the building was mostly empty, the fire was burning the structure itself, which was built in the mid-1960s. The building would likely be considered a total loss. Durango Fire had 45 firefighters at the scene, as well as 3 chief officers, 2 investigators, 2 ladder trucks, 4 engines, and 4 ambulances.
According to the Cortez Journal, Gwen Lachelt may have impacted the votes that defeated the joint resolution to disapprove of the Department of the Interior's methane rule. On a visit to Washington on Tuesday, the La Plata County Commissioner ran into Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona, in an elevator. Prior to that encounter, McCain had committed to voting for the joint resolution. Afterward, McCain changed his vote. The Methane and Waste Prevention Rule is a regulation to limit methane emissions from energy production sites on public lands. The rule aims to minimize wasted natural gas resources on public and tribal lands by requiring companies to look for and repair leaks, minimize burning, and prohibit direct venting of gas into the atmosphere. The rule was finalized in November 2016 after 3 years of public meetings and comments. The joint resolution of disapproval was empowered by the Congressional Review Act, which allows Congress to review new federal regulations issued by government agencies and pass a joint resolution to override them. The Senate voted on Wednesday morning to not proceed to debate and a vote on the joint resolution by a vote of 51 to 49, with deciding votes cast by McCain, Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, and Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina. The House approved the joint resolution in February on 221 to 191 vote, with Representative Scott Tipton, Republican of Cortez, voting for disapproval of the rule. In Wednesday's Senate vote, Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, cast the final vote in opposition to the resolution. The rule is similar to a law passed in Colorado in 2014 which regulates methane emissions from oil and gas drilling. Colorado was the first state to regulate methane emissions. And now here's our weather report.
Today's high should be around 66. This morning's cool north wind will become south this afternoon and will run near 15 miles an hour with gusts of 30 possible. Wednesday still looks to be warmest and forecast for 79 degrees. Wednesday night, clouds will increase and continue to do so into Thursday, as a Canadian low pushes just into the northernmost bit of our state. Thursday late and into the night has a slight chance of showers due to a second system that will try to wrap moisture around that Canadian low. That will last for just a few hours, then clear away through the night for our broadcast area. Nevertheless, that wraparound wave will send a reinforcing shot of cooler weather along with another round of showers Friday, but where? Only to the north, and it will shift south Saturday and Sunday. Again, not for our end of the county. But outdoor events such as the Iron Horse Bicycle Classic running from Durango to Silverton should see cooler conditions and scattered showers dancing around. Snow elevations will stay quite high with the bulk accumulating snow above the 10,000 foot mark. Perhaps tomorrow's update will be more detailed. Another high pressure ridge is headed in after that, so the first week of June is likely to be warm and dry, befitting the driest month of the year. The highlights of the national weather map are seen in two areas: the southernmost tip of Texas, where severe thunderstorms are possible today and into the evening. The southeast coast is the other, where the eastern Carolinas and the southern half of Georgia and northern Florida also have severe thunderstorms likely as well, and also a significant threat for flash flooding. This is expected to move offshore overnight tonight. The upper Great Lakes to the Mississippi Valley and the southern plains have seen rain that will transition into showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. That system will be moving into the central Appalachians and southeast by tomorrow evening, so the eastern Carolinas won't get much of a break and will stay wet. The Pacific Northwest will see a bit of wet move in this evening and move to the Great Basin by Wednesday evening, and that one's the one that may drag moisture into that iron horse competition. So tune in tomorrow for updated information on that. The temperature forecasts are getting more stable, as they should, and so only a slight change is noticed. Tomorrow's 79 still on tap for the high, declining to the upper 60s for the weekend, where the cooling effect of those north and Pacific Northwest systems have made things just about 2 degrees cooler. Lows for the night are still all over the 40s, ranging from 49 down to 41. This may be the last week of springy feeling, so enjoy it as much as possible. Now back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, in a significant win for opponents of the village at Wolf Creek, a federal judge on Friday invalidated the U.S. Forest Service's decision to approve a land exchange that would have essentially served as a green light for a new resort atop the remote mountain pass. The order rules in the favor of community groups who have been fighting this ill-conceived project for decades, said Travis Stills, an attorney with Energy and Conservation Law. This is an important decision that respects the law, the environment, and, importantly, agency staffers who tried to protect the national forest despite the constant barrage of political pressure, he said. In 2015, Rio Grande Forest Service Supervisor Dan Dallas approved a land exchange with Layville McCombs joint venture spearheaded by Texas billionaire B.J. Red McCombs. That gave the developers the access to U.S. Highway 160 they had lacked since the 1980s. For nearly 3 decades, Layville McCombs joint venture has sought to build a resort with a capacity for an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 people on the mountain pass at nearly 10,000 feet and more than 20 miles from the nearest town. A coalition of environmental groups for 2 years has challenged the Forest Service's decision, arguing that the agency unlawfully limited the scope of an environmental analysis and was unduly influenced by McCombs and his political pressure throughout the process. Senior Judge Richard P. Match, in no uncertain terms, agreed with those concerns. Match noted predictive bias in the Forest Service's decision to approve the land swap, suggesting the agency relied on environmental reviews that favored the developers and their request.
Yes, indeed. We now have last week's CO2 average in at 410.36. Week before, last just given yesterday, if your memory is good, was at 409.28. 1 year ago, 407.39, and 10 years back, it was 386.30. For those who love the occasional ironic news bit, some years ago, various concerned citizens and world leaders became concerned about world food supply. With drought, plant diseases, dubious and dangerous biological warfare and chemical warfare issues, and the threat of nuclear war and a resulting famine, some way of trying to ensure a food supply was dreamed up, and the idea was conceived to solicit funds to preserve as many and as wide a variety of seeds as possible, including non-food seeds that might someday prove to have some medical miracle in their makeup and sustain people and animal life. Where to store the stuff became the question, and nuclear fears meant as far away from population centers as possible. One of the planned vaults was constructed 400 feet into an icy mountainside in Spitsbergen, Norway, with a capacity to store 4.5 million crop varieties and 2.5 billion seeds. It's billed as the world's largest collection of crop diversity. With a capacity to store 4.5 million crop varieties and 2.5 billion seeds, There are now between 800,000 and 900,000 samples there. The seeds are kept at a hard freeze level of 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Somehow, a threat less appreciated at the time the idea was originally conceived has become a threat anyway. The vault opened just 7 years ago, and that's not all that long, and Mother Nature is disturbed, but maybe not yet too angry, we hope. Posted notice that some plans for survival are just plain too easy to scuttle. High temperatures and heavy rainfall in October 2016 caused water intrusion into the tunnel leading to the seed vault. The Norwegian government's already making repairs, remodeling, and doing preventive maintenance and measures. While remodeling, they discovered that another threat was at the root of the problem. Rain drainage issues were related to the thawing of permafrost in the area. One government employee was quoted as saying, "It was not in our plans to think that the permafrost would not be there and that we would experience extreme weather like that." A lot of water went into the start of the tunnel and then it froze into ice, so it was like a glacier when you went in. We must see what we can do to minimize all the risks and make sure the seed bank can take care of itself. Sounds like a good idea, perhaps one with some degree of application to larger scale problems. Perhaps try to restore climatic self-control. Well, that thawing caused a leak. Fortunately, no damage was done to the seeds, and the seed bank, which was supposed to operate on autopilot, but right now workers are watching around the clock. Although the seeds were unaffected, the Norwegian government, which operates the vault, is consulting with climate researchers about time and taking other precautions to ensure what they say is that we do the right thing to protect the tunnel and the vault in the future. We will not take any chances. That's easier said than done, but at least it's a start.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, in the closing moments of the legislative session, lawmakers avoided taking $264 million in federal funds away from Colorado's hospitals and designates funding for transportation. Senate Bill 267, which reclassifies the hospital provider fee as an enterprise and removes the funds it generates and returns to hospitals from the revenue limit of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, which was passed by the House on a 49-16 vote. The provider fee is a charge assessed by hospitals that is matched by the federal government and returned to healthcare providers to subsidize the care of individuals on Medicaid or without insurance. When the fee is redistributed, it generally favors rural hospitals for return on investment. In an effort to balance the state's budget, the amount collected by the fee was cut by $264 million, rather than cutting other departments in the state government. The bill has been on a meteoric path to approval after lawmakers who crafted it reached an agreement last week. In addition to reclassifying the provider fee, SB 267 includes a veritable clown car of measures, including raising the sales tax on retail marijuana to fund rural schools and give a tax break to small businesses, and issuing certificates of participation, similar to taking out a second mortgage on state buildings to the tune of $2 billion for transportation and construction funding. To reach agreement, the Tabor cap was lowered by $200 million to offset the removal of the hospital provider fee, which accounts for more than $800 million toward the state's revenue limit. That allows the state to retain additional revenue to go toward closing budget shortfalls. Republicans in the Senate railed against not lowering the cap by the full amount of the provider fee, as it allows for the state to hold on to additional taxpayer dollars and grow government. During Wednesday's debate, it was the scope of the bill that was the primary point of ire from both opponents and proponents. Representative Kimmy Lewis said she felt backed into a corner on SB 267, but had to support the bill because of the needs of her rural district. And rural Colorado does look to benefit from the measure, as many of its provisions disproportionately affect counties with populations under 50,000. For instance, of the $2 billion raised by certificates of deposit, 25% must go toward projects in rural areas.
What do bears have against SUVs? Are they in cahoots with Al Gore? According to the Durango Herald, a Durango woman who lives in the Junction Creek area northwest of downtown Durango awoke last week to the sounds of a bear trapped inside her SUV, wreaking havoc. Around 4:30 a.m. on Wednesday, Sherry Halderson went out onto her deck at her County Road 204 home after hearing her vehicle horn go off. However, she couldn't see inside. The windows were too steamy. So Halderson said she shined a flashlight into the windows and, quote, "There was a huge expletive bear in there shredding the interior of my car." Halderson called the La Plata County Sheriff's Office, which sent a deputy to help free the bear. But by the time the bear was released, the damage had been done. Quote, "The car is no longer safe," said Halderson, a single mother who just graduated from Fort Lewis College and took a part-time job teaching at Needham Elementary School this spring. Halderson said she had mints and gum in the SUV, but no other food or possible attractants. She said the windows were down and the doors to the 2003 Nissan Pathfinder were closed but not locked. Joe Lewandowski, spokesman for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, said even gum and mints are enough to lure a bear into trouble. Bears can smell that through a car window, he said. Lewandowski strongly suggested taking anything that may attract a bear out of the vehicle and said residents should lock their doors and roll up their windows. "It's really important people do that," he said. "We haven't met a bear yet that's able to figure out how to unlock a door that's locked." Lewandowski said residents should also lock the doors to their homes and close windows when they're not home, and also suggested keeping garage doors shut. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has no planned management actions for the bear. This incident is the second notable bear vehicle break-in this spring. Earlier this month, a black bear got inside a small SUV in the Forest Lake subdivision. CPW said it has not taken actions with that bear. Perhaps these bears are just trying to find that rogue French fry between the seats.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of May 15th through the 21st. Power was interrupted for several residents in town. Dispatch contacted Empire Electric, and after a short time, power was restored. San Miguel Sheriff's Office requested assistance interviewing a victim of domestic abuse. A town resident reported their vehicle broken into and money stolen from a residence in town. An officer is investigating. That's it for today's roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
For today's High Canyon Country happenings, as the kids wind down their school year and June 21st, aka the actual start of summer, is approaching, Cortez City Park will be the place every Tuesday night at 8:30 for the Outdoor Summer Movie Series. Free movies, free popcorn. Presented by the Pinion Project, YEP, standing for Youth Empowerment Project, community-based youth mentoring. Open mic nights will be May 30th, June 20th from 6:30 to 8:15 p.m., hosted by SCYC and YLC. For details and information, go online to pinionproject.org. The first movie is May 30th, next Tuesday. And the Youth Summer Skate Camp, hosted by the Four Corners Roller Girls, is for girls and boys ages 8 to 17, beginners to advanced. Session 1 is July 8th and July 15th. Session 2 is August 5th and August 12th on the outdoor basketball court to the south of the Cortez Rec Center. Visit their Facebook page for all the details. Session cost is $40. The first session includes a water bottle and the second includes a t-shirt. And the summer program for the STEM group in Dolores County, STEM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, will be June 7th and 8th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The robotics camp is for 8 to 12-year-olds, and that'll be held at the Dove Creek Community Center. Come join in the free lunch and fun. Provided by Gus or Oma at the CSU Extension Office. You can call them at 677-2283 to sign up. Last day to sign up is June 1st. One day of hands-on energy experiments and the other day is fun with robotics. Space is limited, so sign up ASAP. All of the happenings are posted up on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays, weather and original stories, and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us. It's dcbnnews@gmail.com or call us at the station, 677-4119, and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program airs live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then it is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m., and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3, and 6.
And be sure to check out our Facebook page, DCTV News at Noon. It has all the links and details with the original stories, video replays. Please like us there and share the link.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.